Some of you are interested in conference. We need to talk about conference papers and stuff like that tonight. If you do 2 or 3 things in a conference paper, I will guarantee you a 90% chance it'll hit in the conference that you want to go to. But you got to do these 3 things. If you'll do those 3 things, you'll get acceptance and go to the conference. But the key here is, go to your journals, go to the ones that you're interested in, and I will guarantee you they will have special issues laid out for the next 2 years. Write papers for those special issues, because you go from being 10% to 50%, just like that. Nothing's changed. Is it a guarantee you're going to publish it? No, but it's a 5 times better chance than the other way. A couple other things that are going on. Incrementalism, that's what you were trained to do. Follow in somebody's footsteps. Follow in somebody's idea. Don't do something revolutionary. You're told that in your dissertations in particular. Don't do something strange or you'll never get through. I did something strange and it took me forever to get through. How unusual for me to do something strange. What they're talking about here is what I call the sled dog theory. You know, sled dogs, the ones that pull the Eskimos around. The saying for sled dogs is, there's only one dog in that sled dog that has a good view. Everybody else is looking at the other dog's butt. You know, and you're following around like this, and that's not a real good view. What I'm thinking about here is, come up with your own ideas. Don't take your piece of sand and put it on the beach and go, because nobody's going to pay any attention. It was fascinating to me to be at the university I was at for 10 years, and I found out that no one had read any of my research. Miriam, because she works for me, but no one else did. Why? Because it was off the beaten track, and I wasn't part of the dog train. I wasn't part of this dog sled approach. I don't think I would survive being a part of a dog sled. Maybe you can. I can't. I would highly recommend that you do something innovative, different, unusual, rather than doing what everybody else is doing, your piece of sand on the beach. Globalization has hit your field, all of your fields, whether you know it or not. What's the biggest phenomenon, 2 biggest phenomena taking place in globalization? Number 1 is there are more journals to publish in. Okay, that's important. Number 2, there are more people trying to publish in the better journals. Again, back to the Journal of World Business as I know it. We get 400 submissions a year to the Journal of World Business. We publish 32. 2 years ago, that number was 175. Then it went to 250. Now it's at 400. And what we see is just an avalanche of people from all over the world now wanting to publish in a good Western journal that's tied to international business. Okay? So what we're seeing here is this change means I know what Journal of World Business is. You say, well, I'll try an article there. And you've got 400 people ahead of you for 30 positions. That's a big change. We didn't have that before. It used to be United States, a little bit in Australia, tiny bit in Europe, and that was about it. Another change that's taking place is the network effect. You have to learn how to do this. This is, if you hear absolutely nothing else I say tonight, this is critical. You can no longer be a sole researcher on a paper. It just does not work. And I'm talking about people that have 7, 8, 9 authors on a paper. Why do they do that? Some people argue that it cheapens their research. Some people said it makes it better because you're bringing 9 experts to get to bear on one paper. Okay, and that would make it a better paper. Why is this phenomenon taking place? It used to be, I would say 20 years ago, sole authorship would be 75%. Now I'd say it's 10%. Why has it changed that dramatically in a relatively short period of time? Why? I've already told you why. See if you tie the 2 things together. How long does it take me to get an article reviewed? 2 years. Can I wait on that article to be reviewed and accepted before I start my next article? The answer is no. You've got to team up with people. And a friend of mine at Florida State, Jerry Ferris, says it's like a flower. You've got the center part, that's Jerry. And then you've got these petals that come off the flower. And he said, I've got 4 to 5 people working on each one of these petals so that when I feed out ideas to them, they're doing all the grunt work, getting it back to me, and all of a sudden our flower survives because we have more publications than anybody else. And he is inordinately good, inordinately successful, probably one of the top researchers in the United States. And he said, I couldn't do it by myself. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't produce enough to be a star. So what you need to do is you need to identify some people to work with. Now, unfortunately, I was telling someone at dinner, I had 2 students cheating in my class this last semester. They were both failing the class and they were cheating off each other. And I thought, well, isn't this novel? What am I supposed to do here? Should I keep them? I remember the movie that came out, Dumb and Dumber. I got dumb, dumber, and dumbest. I didn't say a word to them. I just let them cheat. They both failed the class. What's the problem with you? You guys are dumb and dumber. Why? You only know the people in this room. Don't you? You don't know anybody else that can do research with. So what you're doing is you're linking up with Dumb and Dumber. You got to get somebody in here that actually knows what they're doing. And I'm not knocking you as much as it sounds like. You know the content. You know the method. But do you know the idea, and do you know how to get it published in a good journal? Writing a good article almost is secondary to getting it published in a good journal. There's a process that you go through to get it published. Okay? What you need to do is identify some people that are ahead of you, that are out in the marketplace. And somebody asked me, it wasn't here, but somebody asked me the other day, well, how do I meet these people? I can't tell you the number of emails that I've got that says, gee, I've read your thing, if you just send me a copy, and I've got something that might work with this. What you've done is really good. Now, how many times are you going to, oh, screw them, I'm not going to respond to that person? We all have gigantic egos. We all say, oh, it must be really great, and then I find out nobody at my school reads what I do, so I must be an idiot. And then somebody writes me from Griffith University in Australia and says, you really got a great idea here. Would you like to work on a project with me? I would now work with 4 faculty members at Griffith University because they said that to me. Okay? I have an ego. The people you want to deal with are going to have an ego because they've been successful. And what you have to say is, can I get on one of your pedals? Okay? And the answer most of the time, if you're not a complete idiot, is yeah, why not? Come on in. If you don't work, we'll replace you. But you got to ask, and there's nothing wrong. It's like asking the prettiest girl to the dance. You got to ask them. They're not going to just volunteer. Or they never volunteered to me, I'll guarantee you that. So maybe you guys are better than I am, but I never got any volunteers on that thing. This is really important. Understand the Lone Ranger can't do it. The first 30 articles I wrote by myself. There was nobody else with them. I stopped doing it. I said, this is stupid. All these other guys are kind of leveraging what they're doing. I'll take the first one, you take the first one, and this, you take it. And they were getting 4 papers out when I got 1 out. All of a sudden, I wasn't as good as they were. It used to be, in the old days, 20 years ago, they would take the number of authors on a paper and divide it by, and that was the credit you got. 3 authors on a paper, you got a credit for a third of a paper. They don't do that anymore. Do you realize, and I didn't do all the journals, but in the better journals in the United States, 87% of them have multiple authors on the paper. You can't do it by yourself. If you think you can, you're a hell of a lot smarter than the rest of us, because we can't do it. Don't link up with Dumb and Dumber. Get somebody outside this room to talk to. I don't care if it's another university. I don't care if it's a professor at MIT. If you contact them, they will contact you back 90% of the time. Don't think that you have to be as well known as they are. Just say, I'm willing to work. I've got an idea. The magic word with us is, I got a data set. All of a sudden, you're our best friends. Another thing that's taking place is that the gatekeeper phenomena, managing what comes into the journal, is rampant. And let me tell you how it happens. Many times on these special issues, let's do a reprise. Let's do a review of the field of strategic management. Bob Hoskinson run this. Bob's one of the top people in strategy in the United States. What's the problem with that? Who writes for that special issue? Who do you think would write for that special issue? You guys aren't very lively tonight. You're kind of totty. That's the problem.
All these other research buddies.
All of his other buddies. All of his other graduate students. And what they do is they write and they extol the virtue of Bob Hoskinson's work. So you pick it up not knowing, and you look at it and say, hey, man, this Hoskins guy is really good. Look at all these people saying he's really great. He doesn't know a damn thing. But he's got this system where he does special issue. We call him Special Issue Bob. He has 23 A-level hits. 20 of them are in special issues where he's the editor, one of his students is the editor, a friend of his is the editor. Now,